Welcome in to the Ravens Rundown by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. So glad to have you with us. Coming up on today's show, it is the eve of NFL free agency. And so with that, I have some players to go through of potential free agent targets for your Baltimore Ravens. We will get to all of that and more coming up in just a few moments. Before we do, folks, we are on the verge of 9,000 subscribers here on the channel, but we need your help to get there. We are 77 away. Subscribe now for the latest happenings on your favorite team as we're talking trades, free agency, count down the days towards the draft, everything you need to know about your favorite team. We got you covered. Here's the deal. I've been told, according to our bosses, that if we don't get to 9,000 subscribers by Friday, we might just become a sub-only channel here where we would only be able to do content for those that are subscribed. So help us out. Help us get to 9,000. That way we can have as many people possible on this channel be a part of what we're doing each and every day. Subscribe now for free, and we'll get started with today's show. So I know that when you look at this Baltimore Ravens team as they enter free agency in 2023, that they don't have a whole lot of cap space. You obviously still have Lamar Jackson's situation going on of trying to figure out whether you're going to bring him back or not. And if you do, then that's going to be a hefty amount that you owe him as is. But even with that said, here's what I would say about this situation for Baltimore this offseason. The Ravens are not far away from getting to that next tier in the AFC, from competing with the likes of the Chiefs and the Bengals and the Bills. They're only a couple of players away. And with the limits that you have in this upcoming draft, with not having a whole lot of draft picks, if you can find a way to finagle, move around cap space, whatever it takes to potentially bring in a player or two in free agency, that could make all the difference for this Ravens team. So let's go ahead and run through the list of players that come to mind. Here are 5 free agent targets. We begin with Rock Ya-Sin, the corner from the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, I know some people are going to mention James Bradberry, and Bradberry is a very talented player in his own right, but the reason why today I want to look at Rock Ya-Sin for this is the age. He's considerably younger than Bradberry. Remember, he was just a second-round pick back in 2019 for the Colts. Spent last season with the Las Vegas Raiders. His PFF grades looking at a coverage grade of 65.8, an overall grade of 65.7. The Ravens, of course, are looking for an answer to be that number 2 corner alongside Marlon Humphrey, with Marcus Peters headed to free agency. In this, for the Ravens, you could get a young player that has a lot of potential, and you might find yourself finding a guy that's potentially cheaper than Marcus Peters, too, in the process. So Rock Ya-Sin, I like as a sneaky good find potentially to be your number 2 corner in Baltimore there. More guys to get to here in just a second, but your chance to chime in, weigh in the comment section. Name a free agent you'd like to see the Ravens sign in this free agency period. This is our pinned comment today. You might get an ad break. If so, take advantage of it. While the ad's playing, tell me, give me some names, a few names, who you'd like to see the Ravens pursue and sign in this free agency period. Let's shift gears now and talk about the receiver position. I got a couple names I want to talk about at the receiver spot. There's guys I like in this draft that the Ravens should consider, but when you look at free agents, you have to start with JuJu Smith-Schuster, who had a nice bounce-back year with the Kansas City Chiefs this past year with 78 catches, 933 yards, 3 touchdowns, and helped get the Chiefs to the Super Bowl this year, was a Pro Bowler back in 2018. And JuJu, we've seen this year when you paired him up with Patrick Mahomes, and it rejuvenated his career. He had a nice bounce-back season there with Kansas City. And so if you pair him up with Lamar, another great quarterback in the National Football League, maybe JuJu can keep up the momentum from what started this past year in Kansas City, potentially, as far as that goes. And if you bring in JuJu, you put him and Rashad Bateman together, you might end up with a nice 1-2 punch potentially there at that wide receiver position. Got another receiver that I'll tell you here in just a second. Before we do, today's edition of the Ravens Rundown is sponsored by Fume. We all have habits, bad habits, and we certainly know how hard they can be to kick those bad habits. Our sponsor, Fume, is on a mission to accelerate humanity's breakup from the bad habits that consume far too many of us. Fume is a natural diffusive device that uses plants and behavioral science to help you trade out your negative habit for a positive one. I didn't expect much out of Fume when I got it, but the minty sensation is really powerful and really hits the back of the throat. The Journey Pack comes with 3 unique flavors for you to enjoy: maple pepper, crisp mint, and white cranberry. Fume is not a vape. It's a non-electronic device designed to transform your negative habits. The easiest way to stop a bad habit is to switch to a positive one, and Fume is designed perfectly to do just that. Head to tryfume.com/chatsports and use code ChatSports to save 10% off when you get the Journey Pack today. That's tryfum.com/chatsports and use code ChatSports to save an additional 10% off your order today. Tell them that Tyler Jones and ChatSports sent you, and you'll be glad you did. Next up on our list of potential free agents is Jakobi Meyers of the New England Patriots. And Jakobi, a little bit younger than JuJu, and it's been quite the story for Jakobi Meyers. It wasn't too long ago this guy was undrafted. Back in 2019, was an undrafted free agent, signed with the New England Patriots, and Bill Belichick, what a typical Belichick story, right? To find an under-the-radar wide receiver. That's what he found in Jakobi Meyers, as Meyers is coming off a very solid year that had 67 catches, 804 yards, and 6 touchdowns. He's been pretty consistent, too, been available. He's started 29 games in the last 2 seasons. The thing I would say about Jakobi Meyers, though, is that what we've seen out of him to this point has been, I think, material for a number 2 receiver, okay? If you bring in Jakobi Meyers, potentially, you probably still need to draft a receiver with one of your early picks, potentially. That Jakobi Meyers, he's not necessarily a stopgap guy. He's not just to hold the spot until you find another guy. He could be your number 2 for a while, but you still need another potential weapon to be that other guy to compete there for those catches to help out Lamar Jackson there. But I do like Jakobi Meyers a lot. If you had to choose between one of these two, Jakobi Meyers or JuJu Smith-Schuster, who would you choose? Let's get their numbers out in the comments section. Type 16 for Jakobi Meyers. Type 9 for JuJu. Let me know in the comments section. 16 for Jakobi, 9 for JuJu. Next up, let's go to the defensive side of the ball and look at the linebacker spot with Bobby Wagner. Now, we know that this Ravens team already paid Roquan Smith a significant amount of money. But what about trying to find a running mate, a partner of some sorts in that linebacker room that kind of fits the DNA and the mentality of the Baltimore Ravens? Why don't we talk about Bobby Wagner for that? Bobby Wagner, I understand that he's a little bit older now, but he's still coming off a really good year in his one season with the Los Angeles Rams, with 140 tackles, 10 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, and 2 interceptions. An 8-time Pro Bowler, a Super Bowl champion with Seattle, a 6-time first-team All-Pro. Bobby Wagner is a future first-ballot Hall of Famer. He has been outstanding throughout his career. And one of the things that Bobby Wagner said was that why he wanted to leave Los Angeles was he wanted to play for a contending team. The Rams obviously are going in a different direction from the Super Bowl team that they were at just a couple years ago, and we saw them move on from Jalen Ramsey just on Sunday, right? Well, Bobby Wagner, I think you're talking about if he goes to Baltimore, that's one of those things that could take this team to that next level, put that team over the hump, is adding a guy like Bobby. He'd be a terrific impact player. They'd be lucky to have him there in Baltimore. The last name on this list, I think this is the most risky of the free agent targets potentially for the Baltimore Ravens. That is Marcus Davenport, the edge rusher from the New Orleans Saints. Now, Davenport is still very young, first-round pick back in 2018, and his PFF grade's not bad this past year, 76.8 overall, 69.7 run defense, and 75 pass rush grade. The grades look good, but when you look at the raw numbers, that's when things kind of get concerning when it comes to Marcus Davenport. He's coming off a season where he only had half a sack this past year. And so you wonder with Marcus Davenport, is he going to take another step up, or is he kind of just is what he is at this point? That remains to be seen. So although Marcus Davenport is a very talented football player, teams don't necessarily know what Marcus Davenport they're going to get. it's a big risk, but potential for a big reward situation if you sign Marcus Davenport there. So what do you guys think? Should the Ravens sign Marcus Davenport and bring him to Baltimore? If you think they should, type Y for yes. If not, type in for no. I want to roll through the free agent list one more time here in just a second. But before we do, tell me this. Should the Ravens sign Marcus Davenport? Y for yes, in for no. Let me know in the comment section below. So to recap our 5 potential free agent targets today, Rock Ya-Sin, the corner from the Las Vegas Raiders, JuJu Smith-Schuster, the wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs, Jakobi Meyers, wide receiver from New England, Bobby Wagner from the Los Angeles Rams, and then Marcus Davenport, the edge rusher from New Orleans. Let me know what you think. Who would you like to see the Ravens sign? Tell me on social media. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, active on all those platforms at Tyler Jones Live. Would love to hear from you guys there. Free agency, we're going to be all over it here on the channel. Subscribe now, and we'll see you next time here on the Ravens Rundown.